Good morning, everyone. It's Monday morning here. Sorry about Saturday. We didn't get a video uploaded. It was kind of a chaotic day of getting around with the snow, and by the time I finally got to a place where I could do the video, the day was almost over. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you have a chance to watch us again. Sorry again about the weather. Little I could do about it. But yesterday we talked in church about the gifts and the abilities that God has placed in our hands, the things that God has empowered each one of us to do. But the trick to that phrase is that they're each different. God has equipped us differently. And we looked at a number of different passages. We looked at one from Exodus. I just want to read this real quick, and then we're going to read one from the book of Romans. And it goes like this. This is from Exodus. When Moses replied, "But what if they don't believe me or pay attention to me? They might say to me, 'The Lord didn't appear to you.' The Lord said to him, 'What's that in your hand?' Moses replied, 'A shepherd's staff.' The Lord said, 'Throw it down on the ground.' So Moses threw it on the ground, and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back from it. Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Reach out your hand and grab the snake by the tail.' So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into a rod in his hand. Do this so they may believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, Abraham's God, Isaac's God, and Jacob's God, has in fact appeared to you." I read that because even though it was yesterday's scripture, and technically Romans was yesterday's scripture as well, it's a good reminder to us that God has placed in our hands the things that are needed for ministry. God has equipped us. Now, God hasn't equipped each one of us with everything necessary for the plethora of ministry. God has equipped us so that when we come together, we can be in ministry together, an important and meaningful ministry together. So we're going to look at the book of Romans. I don't have it set in front of me. I apologize. So let's go ahead and just talk about what it talks about. So, because I don't remember what the chapter verse is, but I'm kind of making this in a hurry. So, the passage talks about Paul talking to the Church of Rome, reminding them that each one of them is made with a gift, is empowered with a gift, is trained in a gift. And I do believe that God has already equipped us, but sometimes that gift takes nurturing, right? We don't all know how to fly an airplane. We have to learn how to do that, but God equips us with the ability to learn, but also the desire to learn how to do that kind of thing. And then we can use that skill for ministry, and we've seen examples where that's used. One of my favorite examples was a United Methodist Conference made an effort to purchase a plane, a relatively small plane that could be used to transfer medical supplies and building supplies and things from the United States to a third world developing nation, and to help them in their ministry efforts. And that was a huge cost cut savings, but it also provided expedited means of getting materials where they were most needed. And so that took some know-how, that took some skill, it took someone knowing about airplanes and how they would be useful. But it also talks about this idea that just because you don't have every gift necessary, the gift that you have is of value, and the other gifts are of value as well. Just to take our gift is not going to complete the ministry. It takes all gifts to complete ministry, to be able to do ministry well. And what I wanted to talk about is this idea of not so much that we each have a gift. I think that's important. But to be able to name the gifts we have, but also the gifts we don't have. And that's kind of hard. I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready to make this video, I was thinking about the show American Idol. If you've seen American Idol or seen some of the shows like American Idol, you'll know that American Idol is centered around this idea of amateurs being discovered for their singing abilities. And they have this process when the show is on. I don't think it runs anymore, but they had this process for years where you would come on the show and they would have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people all over the country interviewing and auditioning for American Idol. And they would come on the show and they would get to sing for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it was. And they would sing in front of judges, and there's a whole process, of course, but you get to see this televised process of them singing in front of 3 or 4 judges. And it was almost entertaining because half the people that would come on were good, and it was enjoyable to hear them, and you'd start rooting for them, and you'd want to see them again. But then the other half wasn't real good at all. In fact, sometimes it was downright painful to hear, and I'm sure that's why they televised it. I'm sure that's why they put it on for the entertainment value. But one of the things that came up more often than not was when you would hear someone who couldn't sing well, who couldn't sing at all, or as people would say, couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. They would ask them why they came. And inevitably, the answer was something to this, something like this. My parents tell me that I'm the best singer they've ever heard. Or, I sing in church all the time and everyone loves it. And then they blame the judges because the judges are the ones who can't understand their talent. When I was a kid, I used to sing in church, and my dad would always tell me this piece of advice before I would sing, because it was something that I was very nervous about being singing in front of people. And he'd say, "Bride, you could go up there and do anything, and they're going to say it's beautiful." And he was right. He was making a point that that people appreciate the attempt. People appreciate the effort and what's behind it, which it's true, and that's a good thing. We should appreciate the effort. Good music is good in churches, but we have to remember too that Scripture says, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord." It doesn't say make a joyful, beautiful, well-practiced tonal melody that is gorgeous unto the Lord. It says make a joyful noise, because we are all participants in this worship idea. But to be a performer, we have to be good, right? We have to be a good singer or a good artist or whatever it is that we are claiming to do well. We have to actually be good at it, right? Some people have that talent. You can watch American Idol and see people who have that talent, can sing unbelievably well, and they go on and make good names for themselves in that field. But then you have people who have always assumed that they have that talent and simply don't. And I start to wonder if maybe they think they have that talent, not just because people tell them they're good when they really aren't, but maybe someone in their family is also a good singer. Maybe their parents are good singers. Maybe they saw someone else who was a good singer, a sibling, and they just assumed that that was a gift they must have. The reality is we don't each have the same gifts. And wouldn't it be a boring world if we did all have the same gifts? We went to a concert at Christmas time, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was a fantastic concert. And of course, if you've ever listened to their music or seen them live in concert, you'll know that the forefront of the show is the guitarists and the dancers and those who are, rocking out with the classic 80s rock style. And it's fun to watch. And there's, of course, the drummer who's center stage, and he's raised up on this pedestal, and he's playing, and it's incredible to watch him play with dozens of cymbals around him and dozens of drums, and he's just an artist. And then you see the keyboarder who's playing over and playing these incredible tones under the music, and it all comes together. You see the lights and the soundboard back in the back of the arena that is just unbelievable. It's 3 rows with a dozen people working on this soundboard and this light board. And you start to think about all this talent that's going into it and all that it's making it happen. And then about halfway through the show, they decide to introduce the members of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And as I was watching this, that of course, you want to know who the main players are. But on the right side, stage left, I guess, of the audience, there was an individual who stood at a music stand with a small synthesizer in front of him. Their job was to be the director. They directed the entire concert. I never noticed this director once until they put him in the limelight and let people know who it was, and I never noticed it. But this director pulled it all together, took all these talents and made them a cohesive unit, a cohesive bunch. And as I watched this, I just thought about all of the amazing talents and how without this one talent of being able to direct and keep tempo and move them through the music, it would have been chaos. Each one of us has a gift. Each one of us has something in our hand like Moses' shepherd's crook. Each one of us has a gift that can be used for ministry. Not the same gift, but a gift. And so the question today is this: how has God equipped you? How is God nurturing that gift in you? And how is God calling you to use that gift as part of the cohesive group to do ministry? I hope that you'll take time to consider that. If you want to, take time to note one of your gifts as a comment under this video, or maybe note the gift of someone else. Sometimes we need to take time to share with others what we see their gifts as being, and that can be helpful too. But take time to do that. Take time in your own day to be thinking about that. This whole week we're going to be looking at this idea of what is in your hand. And then, as I want to share with you too, we're preparing next week to begin a new sermon series. So we're going to have kind of a new series of videos. We're still going to be doing these morning videos, but we're going to be looking at the Apostles' Creed. Take time to Google that if you don't know it already. Take time to Google it and read the Apostles' Creed. Read what it is. And we're going to talk about that each week, and then throughout the weeks with these videos, we're going to allude to it with Scripture. But be thinking about that as well. But for this week, how has God equipped you? What is that gift, and how can you use it for ministry? How is God preparing you to use that for ministry? So with that, have a great day. Go into this world, brave the snow if you have to, love those around you, show compassion, show mercy, show kindness, love your neighbor, love the stranger, because they're just this side of becoming friend. Friends, I hope that you have a great day. We'll see you soon. Take care.